So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzaielic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then from Yeshayahu the prophet, try to understand Yeshayahu was an Hebrew prophet, and he was rejected by Israel. He was destroyed and murdered. He was sawn in half. Yet his prophecies are very much active. His prophecies are obviously showing us what went on with many nations and must until this age ends. Also linked up with Yeshayahu, we find then Daniel. Daniel, very importantly, we find then sections after the 26th verse, and there is yet some 10% not yet deciphered. Some 10% of these prophecies of Daniel, they are very hard to decipher because of the wordings and the particular Hebrew words used, and they sometimes can be very tricky. The Hebrew word, they are very specific. There are no words of Hebrew that can be described as gray areas. However, because the Hebrew language is taught and then spoken via the five senses, then there are some sections where then the topics themselves, they are very doubtful, or they are speaking of a meaning other than direct meaning from the five senses, from the Hebrew language. Sometimes some of the words used, they can't be interchangeable, but the meaning can't be. It sounds then contradictory, but it isn't. If you evaluate as if you were writing and then with words being disposed of in your hand, then when you end writing it, then the meaning becoming distinct from the words that you wrote. The Hebrew is somewhat this way. The meaning is a certain understanding and the writing is another. So then, though it's not properly 100% explained, that's the best way it can give you, because reading from after the 26th verse of the 11th chapter, there are some very intricate conflict amongst the faiths of this world. Primarily, the largest fight is going to be then amongst the Christian and the Hebrew. These are directly clashing against each other. If you then read the 11th chapter of Daniel, and if you know how to interpret, if you understand the tabernacling and the intricacies of tabernacling is spoken of primarily by Yeshayahu the prophet, he is always the basis of the prophecies. Then if you understand Yeshayahu the prophet and what he meant, not only from the writing of Hebrew, but the content and context of what it means tabernacling, then you will understand the clash of Christians and Hebrews. There are some very important videos on the internet, in YouTube for instance, extremely important open media, if you read sections of these videos, you understand the Vatican in Italy, they are helping the Hebrews to build the third temple. It is an absolutely crazy idea because the clashing of both of them is going to be absolutely, how can we say, some people say, in epical proportions. It explains very clearly that the Hebrew lineage is going to be then obviously extremely wealthy from this. When the Hebrews they get the forward motion of the situation, there won't be space for neither Christians nor those who are involved with Islam. However, we know as a natural fact that this temple is then on paper, and they are obviously after building it. But the economical situation of the time, as far as we can understand, the East or the system of the East is undoubtedly involved with the leadership of the situation. As far as religion is concerned, there is a direct confrontation of Christians and Hebrews. And what Daniel then described, it is of an epical proportions. So then, as far as Christians mixing up with Hebrews, they must understand the implications of the economical factors of these later on. Because, liking it or not, there is a direct link with earning a living, money, and then what a person believes in. Now, you don't have to be a scholar so you can understand the more than 600 laws involved with the Hebrews. Neither can you justify yourself or yourselves stating that each of these laws are no longer abiding. So though, let's say if you have then a faith where you are not abiding by these laws, yet you are in a position of believing any other Savior, then you understand the intricacies of then helping this system. And you understand when this third temple is implemented, there won't have any space for any other than the 600 plus laws of the Hebrews. Now each of them must make a decision as far as how far they want to go with the religion, because Daniel describes a very monumental clash. So then, it truly explains, and where do you find an exact answer? Firstly then, you have to study what Yeshayahu the prophet have stated. Can't give you a direct answer, because when you evaluate your very core of your being, of what you believe, that's what the point is what you hear. Truly is not what you hear as far as there's truth or near truth or far away from the truth, is what you yourselves believe. Now Yeshayahu gives us an idea how can we identify the very core of what we believe. When you can sort it out, this topic as far as what you believe, then you can understand in what side you're going to be invested on. Daniel explains sections of these prophecies. But you can be sure of it, when the forward motion of religion reaches a certain level, it simply can't go back. Now, there are situations that are not easy standing. As we understand, Friday is the great day of Islam. These are then the sons of King Ishmael. Then you find the seventh day is the holy day, and the first day is then the day of the Christians. Now, for many centuries, the first day was then being observed. As you can understand, let me give you an example of this kind of understanding. For instance, the British captain James Cook, he was a person who kept the seventh day. He kept the holy day. However, he is from the lineage of those who have teachings of the first day. In order for us to understand the core of what we believe, then understanding what kind of a person he was, you can begin your quest then understanding Yeshayahu the prophet. Because believe it or not, Yeshayahu, though there was a holy instruction given because of the reasons behind the people of the law were involved with, Yeshayahu the prophet did not participate with them. Though they were explaining sections of the holy instructions, Yeshayahu the prophet did not participate with them. Not sure if you can understand these explanation, but if you can't, it's already given you a measuring stick on how much you must learn from the prophets prior of understand of your own core. So then you can measure yourself in what kind of a camp you're going to be investing on. So then, Daniel explains very clearly, and there are truly a few words used in Hebrew, and they are not very easy identifying it, and the importance of learning the personality of Yeshayahu the prophet. And then understanding what he did as a prophet. He knew the holy instructions, however, he did not participate with them, because the people of the law at time, though they were involved in a situation of the holy instructions, they were doing for the wrong motives. Sometimes Yeshayahu was in a position of rejecting the leaders, yet he couldn't reject the holy instruction itself. Truly a very strange situation. As far as this clash is concerned, the Vatican or the Christians should be absolutely aware of what they are engaging themselves as far as promoting any kind of a third temple situation. Not sure if the Pope understands the whole instructions, surely he doesn't. But if they are given, the faithful people, or then the Christians, if they are giving their money away without proper understanding, it would be an encouragement of himself of maybe halting and studying a bit before giving away their money. Religions during this time and place, they can't go with the flow anymore. There are some very fine Hebrew people who are doing a tremendous work, yet they are teaching wrongly. So then going with the flow, it can't be done anymore, because the analysis of these instructions are explaining areas where people are not aware of. I know some very fine people who are teaching so fervently, yet when you hear them, it does not make any sense. And the best of their intentions, though they are teaching wrongly, does not save them from being liars. You can be the most honest people in the world, but if you are very cold and if you are not knowledgeable of what's going on, what you have taught is a lie, though then there is a point of grace in the situation because of your ignorance. It doesn't save you from causing a lot of damage in the world. The point is, there are some strong faiths in this world, and the instructions that we have from Daniel, those instructions or those pieces, those scraps that were then saved, divinely saved, should say, for sure explains the first faith being the strongest at this time is Islam. Unquestionably. That's why you find then the Islamic State extremely prominent on the northern side of Africa and in the Middle East. Now, if you don't consider the Islamic State part of Daniel 11, then you are ignorant. So then, the second is a situation amongst the Christian and Hebrew. These two, they can't unite, because the holy instructions are saying so. However, where they invest, then it shows where they are heading towards. So then, the third temple is being built. So, as you understand the 600 plus laws, you can find in your own Bible. The point is, if you don't think these laws are active, you wouldn't have any make sense for you to have it in your own Bible. And truly, it's not a record what you were saved from. Because the truth of it is, only half of it was completed. So then how can you say, if you were saved from these laws, however only let's say only half of it was then completed and the other half then are you then bound to obey them? It's a question that each of us should answer. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.